I opened my eyes to the low mechanical hum of the vents, same as every morning. It came from the panel above the bed, a constant presence now. Not loud enough to be annoying, just steady, like a machine breathing on our behalf. No flickering lights, no sudden silence. That was the only confirmation I needed that the system hadn't failed overnight. My neck felt stiff. The cot was warm, but the air outside the blankets was dry and cold. I reached out and touched the edge of the wall heater, still warm. We hadn't lost heat. Sophia was already up. Her boots weren't in the usual spot, lined up next to mine by the hatch door. One of her jackets was gone too. I sat up, pulled my pants on, and listened. Water was running in the kitchen. Her half of the routine had already started. Washing up, checking the tanks, maybe reorganizing the storage bins again. We never made a formal plan for mornings, but somehow we fell into this pattern. She always got up 20, maybe 30 minutes earlier. Just how it worked out. Maybe she liked having the quiet time before I started pacing around the place. The air smelled faintly metallic, not unusual. Probably just condensation working its way through the outer ducts. I dressed quickly. Same thick canvas shirt from yesterday, wool vest, cargo pants I hadn't rotated in 4 days. There was still a faint smudge of oil near the left pocket where I had leaned into the generator frame last week. I strapped my watch on, not because I needed the time, we used a wall schedule now, but because habits die slower than people. I checked the corridor pressure display before anything else. The small LED readout above the door showed steady green, slight positive offset, just where we kept it, still sealed, still clean, no shifts. I scribbled the numbers into the logbook with a dull pencil stub. Third one I'd gone through since arriving. Notes were stacked by week, pressure, air scrubber runtime, solar input, power buffer status, water levels, hydroponic temperature zones, all recorded even when nothing changed, especially when nothing changed. This was how the days started now, not with alarms or hunger or gunfire, just quiet systems checks, physical movement, simple speech. Living here had become less about survival in the dramatic sense and more about staying level. Fix what breaks, track the numbers, don't forget the routines. That was our defense, against failure, against boredom, against whatever kind of panic tries to creep in when your world shrinks to concrete rooms and ceiling vents. 60+ days since the outbreak pushed the cities past the tipping point, 30 since Sophia and I sealed this place up. The outside world hadn't knocked on our door in weeks, and the silence no longer felt threatening. If anything, it gave us space to settle. No infected near the hatch, no new voices on the radio, just us and the bunker. 1,000 square feet of shelter, food, filters, and old habits. Not a prison, not a paradise. Just enough. And for now, enough meant survival. That was all either of us asked for when we came here. Sophia was heating water when I walked into the kitchen. She'd already put together 2 bowls, rehydrated grains mixed with a pinch of powdered egg and strips of freshly cut lettuce from our grow trays. Our first few weeks were all tin can meals and ration packs. But now that the hydroponics have stabilized, we've started building real food again. Doesn't taste amazing, but it looks like something made in a kitchen instead of a factory. She handed me my bowl and sat down across from me, hair still damp from washing. We ate without much talk. The noise of chewing, clicking utensils, water boiling on the induction plate, all of it filled the air without needing anything else. Eventually, Sophia pushed her plate away and leaned back in her chair. "Surveillance feeds glitched again," she said. "Monitor froze up around 4 o'clock. No red flags. Just missing footage." That was the 3rd time this week. I nodded, made another note in the pad, and stood to go check it for myself. The system always came back online after a few hours, but every time it did, at least a few hours of footage were gone. Erased, not just skipped. No log entries, no system errors, just empty blocks in the timeline. We both knew someone was doing it. We just didn't know how. I checked the pantry next. Nothing missing on first glance, but I walked shelf to shelf like always, counting, double-checking against the physical log. It was a small shift. 2 energy bars gone from box 7. Box hadn't been moved otherwise. I lifted the lid, and there it was. Empty slots. Same pattern as before. It had been happening every 5 to 7 days since the second week. Always small, deliberate theft. Not sloppy, not rushed. Just enough to throw off our numbers without crashing our system. We hadn't spoken directly about it in a while. No point. Neither of us had caught the person, and neither of us wanted to admit how often we lay awake waiting to hear them. Sophia passed me in the hallway on the way to the hydroponics bay, arms full of harvested chives and small-cut lettuce. She didn't comment on the pantry. She knew I was checking it. We didn't need to say it aloud. We'd already gone through the routine, review the ductwork, check the vents, mark the access covers. Whoever it was wasn't entering from the main hatch, and nothing on the inside doors showed tampering. That left one option. Someone was still in here. Someone who never left. Back in the common room, we sat down at the center table to set up for the daily match. Whoever won got to choose tonight's movie. We'd found a stash of DVDs 2 weeks ago. Old action movies, full TV series, some with handwritten labels that we still hadn't watched. Watching something together gave the day structure. The game decided who picked what. Today it was domino tiles we made from scavenged plastic blocks and permanent marker. Loser had to sweep the utility corridor. She won, of course. She usually did. I gave her the same irritated grunt I always do, and she grinned while flipping through the binder of discs. No post-apocalyptic dramas, I said, holding up my hand like it was a courtroom. Relax. This one's got a helicopter and a dog. You'll love it. We killed the afternoon with maintenance tasks, replacing air filters, tightening the hatch panel bolts, cleaning out the grease traps in the kitchen. Around 17 o'clock, I checked the surveillance logs again, still missing footage, still no signs of external tampering, and the hallway near the old elevator shaft hadn't shown movement in weeks, but I didn't trust the feed. I hadn't gone back to that elevator, not since the first time. The dried blood along the inner wall, the snapped cable, the handprint streaked halfway up the shaft door. I kept telling myself I would return when we had a better plan. Sophia never asked again, but I could tell she was curious. We both knew something was down there. We both knew that sealed sector didn't stay sealed on its own. At dinner we talked less. The movie was running on the corner panel, grainy but loud enough to drown out the quiet. Sophia leaned back on the couch with her feet on the table, chewing jerky she'd pulled from a fresh pack. I was scribbling notes in the log, trying to align the missing surveillance windows with the pantry thefts. There was a pattern, but it wasn't clear. Not yet. When the credits rolled, I shut the system down and sat back. Sophia stood, stretched, and started collecting dishes. Then she looked over her shoulder and asked the thing neither of us had said out loud in 2 weeks. You still think someone's in the walls? I told her yes. Not maybe, not could be, yes. We talked at the table afterward, plates pushed off to the side, cards still scattered from the game. We both agreed. We couldn't keep living like this. It wasn't about paranoia anymore. There was proof. Disappearing food, missing surveillance logs, the rattle in the ducts. If someone else was living in here, we had 2 choices: make contact or force them out. Neither of us wanted to turn this place into a trap-filled war zone, but we couldn't go on sharing a sealed bunker with someone we didn't know, couldn't see, and couldn't predict. It was too dangerous. Sophia said it plainly while she rewound the vent camera footage. If they're hiding, they're either scared or waiting for something. Either way, we need to see their face. We decided to use the hydroponics corridor. It had limited access. Just 2 clear entries, both with clean sightlines. The vent above the grow lamps had been tampered with before. The screws were slightly misaligned. The dust around the edge was wiped clean, while the rest of the ceiling was still coated in old grime. That was our spot. Sophia took the motion sensor unit out of the surveillance closet and rewired it to trigger a lamp and a shrill alarm tone instead of pinging the camera log. I helped pull the vent grill down and resecure it loosely with only 2 screws. We drilled tiny pilot holes so that the rest would fall cleanly if tugged from inside. The bait was easy. We put 2 shelf meal packets on the floor just below the opening, the exact ones that kept going missing. We waited 3 days. First day, nothing. Second night, one of the bait packets disappeared, but the trap hadn't been tripped. I'd forgotten how good vents could be for reaching low without fully committing. We adjusted the positioning, slid the meals farther from the wall, and added a noise plate. Just an empty cooking tray balanced loose on the ground under the grill. Third night, the alarm went off at 2:42. The light snapped on. The hallway turned white. I was already out of bed when the metal tray crashed. Sophia was faster. She grabbed the flashlight and bolted from her room in socks. I was half a second behind her, crowbar in one hand, boots untied. By the time we rounded the corner into the hydroponics bay, we saw him. Small figure, fast, dropping straight down from the vent. He tried to pivot and run, but Sophia threw the chair from the grow bench in his path. It didn't hit him directly, but it clipped his legs hard enough that he lost balance. I stepped in and blocked the corridor. He spun toward the other side and made a lunge for the vent opening, trying to climb back up. His hands slipped. The loosened grill clattered to the ground behind him. Then he froze. Sophia didn't raise her voice at first. She just said, "Stop," in that tone I'd only heard her use once, when we were cornered in the lodge stairwell. He stopped. We kept our distance. I didn't move forward. Neither did she. I could see him breathing fast, shoulders twitching, eyes wide and locked on every movement we made. He wasn't holding anything. No weapon. Just a ragged jacket tied at the waist with a bungee cord. "Sit," Sophia said. "Just sit. We're not going to hurt you." He didn't listen at first, but he didn't run either. Just stood there frozen, like he was calculating something we couldn't see. Eventually, when neither of us moved, he sank slowly to the floor, knees bent, arms tight across his stomach. We waited another full minute before speaking again. "What's your name?" I asked. He didn't answer, just stared down at the floor. We pulled the chair back up, set it in the center of the room, and gestured for him to use it. He did, cautiously. We brought water, some dried apple slices, and a basic shelf meal. He didn't touch any of it for a while. Sophia sat on the counter a few feet away, arms folded, watching his body language. I stayed near the door. Neither of us spoke unless we needed to. The kid looked younger than I expected. 16 maybe, 17 at the very most. Pale, underfed, but not sick. His hands were scraped raw, not fresh injuries, healing abrasions from weeks of crawling through tight shafts. The sleeves on his jacket were torn, and his shoes looked like they were 2 sizes too small. He had that look in his eyes, sharp, constantly checking exits, scanning us like he'd had to weigh people's reactions for survival before. Finally, Sophia asked again, "What's your name?" Still nothing, but this time, he didn't look away. I stepped into the office later that morning to pull the family photos off the shelf, the ones I'd found weeks ago when I first explored the bunker. I carried them back to the kitchen and set one down in front of him, a glossy frame, dust still in the corners. 4 people, father, mother, and 2 sons, both young. The older one had Hale's jawline. The younger one had the same tired eyes as the kid in the chair. He looked at the photo for about 5 seconds before lifting his eyes to mine. "I didn't know who else would come," he said. That was the first thing he said to us. We didn't push him after that, just gave him space, let him eat, let him drink. He didn't relax, not even after a full hour of sitting under the lights and watching us move around the room, but he wasn't trying to run anymore either. We waited. When he spoke again, it was quieter, almost mumbled. "My name's Liam." Sophia and I exchanged a look. That name matched the photo, matched the file we'd seen weeks ago when combing the personal directories on the old console. Liam Hale. That night, after he fell asleep in the common room chair, wrapped in a spare blanket and half curled around the heater vent, Sophia pulled me aside in the far corridor and said what we were both thinking. "He's the reason the safe was empty." I nodded. "And I think he knows what's in the lower level." He slept most of the next morning, curled up in a chair in the corner of the common room, close to the heat vent, blanket tucked around him and one hand always on the edge of the cushion like he thought we'd try to move him. We let him be. Sophia kept the noise low in the kitchen, ran the water gently, skipped the usual banter. I sat with the old logbook and tried to sketch out a timeline of events with what little we had. At noon, Liam woke up, stood without saying anything, and walked into the kitchen like he had always lived here. He poured himself a mug of water, sat down, and picked at the dry bread and nut mix we left on the table. He did not make eye contact, and we did not force it. We gave it 2 days before pushing, not because we were being patient, but because we wanted him rested, fed, and less reactive. Paranoia burns hot in a starving body. Once it cooled off, we would get real answers. The third evening, after dinner, Sophia stood by the counter while I locked up the tools. Liam was sitting in the corner again, near the heater vent. She leaned on the counter with both palms down and looked over. "You want to stay here? You talk. We can't afford ghosts, not in this place." I sat next to him, waited. He didn't answer right away. Eventually, he took a breath and sat up straighter. Looked not at us, but past us. We got here on the 4th day. That was the start of it. He talked slowly, not in full sentences at first, more like stitching memories together piece by piece. The picture came into focus over hours, not minutes. His father, Hale, had the place stocked before the outbreak. Contracts with the logistics firm Logan and Rourke had gone quiet by then, but the prep work had already been done. The family bugged out early. He said his dad got an untraceable alert 2 days before the official national emergency order. They arrived through a private route, not the hatch Evan and Sophia had used. There was a larger entrance hidden farther down the mountain slope. It could fit trucks. There were 18 of us at first, Liam said. Family, security, logistics people, Navarro, the doctor, one of my dad's assistants. The name Navarro came up twice. Sophia caught it the first time. I missed it. The routine down here started off structured. Daily check-ins, nutrition schedules, shift rotations. Hale was obsessed with data. He wanted to track how the outbreak impacted people emotionally, not just physically. That was Navarro's job. A civilian psychologist who had been offered a seat down here to observe the human breakdown process. She was supposed to provide adjustment reports and help monitor containment anxiety, as Liam called it. Then someone got exposed. It was not confirmed exactly who. A staffer had been on the supply team during the first 48 hours. Topside contamination. The staffer lied during re-entry checks, said he was clean. 2 days later, he collapsed in the service corridor below the living quarters. They didn't know what it was at first. It looked like a seizure, then cardiac failure. He was moved to a secured room for medical care. The doctor tried to stabilize him. He flatlined. 6 hours later, he stood up again. The first death happened that night. Security tried to split the group into segments. Those exposed or even near the scene were moved to Unit 2 quarters. Tighter spaces, more monitoring, cameras in every room. Hale had converted the lower section of the facility into a series of isolation pods and kept backup bunk logs for each one. Liam said it felt like a medical prison. It worked for about 3 days. Then someone panicked. A pressure door jammed, and one of the security guards forced it open with a pry bar. That was the breach. Infected got into the living quarters. It was fast. Screaming, gunshots, emergency lockdowns slamming into place. Sophia asked how many people were lost that night. Liam said he didn't know, just that his mother and brother were bitten. They got sealed in the lower sector when the final lockdown command was triggered. The heavy doors locked automatically. Emergency power shifted. Air was rerouted to essential zones. Liam was pulled into the access ducts by Navarro herself during the chaos. She knew the vent layout. She handed him a backpack and told him to crawl to the top-level hydroponics hatch and stay quiet. She took something from the safe first, he said. Carried a black case, metal, small, then she was gone. Sophia leaned forward. Gone how? Left with one of the guards. Said she had to reach another site, another vault. Navarro never returned. The safe mystery made sense now. No treasure, no secret weapons. Just information, drives, bunker plans, backup caches, secondary shelter coordinates. That was what Navarro took before escaping. Liam said that when I was out of the bunker, he got to the safe and opened it with Dad's password, which he knew. There was some family stuff and documents, but nothing really important. He threw everything away, took some food, and went back. We asked about the surveillance logs, the missing footage, the blind spots. Liam admitted he figured out how to delete logs. Navarro had shown him once, casually, so he could erase embarrassing things if he got in trouble. After she left, he used it to cover his own movement. He said it made him feel safer. The final thing he told us that night stopped both of us cold. There's a big door lower on the slope, he said, for vehicles, food deliveries. You came through the top, but the lower entrance was supposed to be permanent. Dad said never open it again unless we had the right override code. Is it locked? I asked. He hesitated. I locked it from this side after Navarro left, but I never sealed the tunnel behind it. I didn't have the gear. I looked at Sophia. She was already thinking it through. We thanked him, left him in the kitchen, and walked down to the secured hallway, past the elevator, past the sealed doors. We didn't open anything, just stood there a while. We had answers now. The safe was empty because Navarro took the drives. The blind spots existed because Liam had been deleting the logs. The presence in the vents was not a ghost. It was a boy hiding from infected, alone, for over a month. We didn't rush it. After Liam finished telling us everything he remembered about the lower sector, every hallway, every lockdown, every mistake, we took another 2 days to prepare. I did most of the moving and lifting. Sophia focused on the access plan and building out the shields. Liam sketched rough layouts from memory and pointed to the places where he thought people had fallen, where barricades might still be intact, and which doors should stay sealed no matter what. The bunker hadn't shown any signs of internal failure, no air quality problems or structural decay, but that didn't mean the lower level was stable. We didn't know if gas had built up, if there were breaches to outside tunnels, or if any locked doors had given way since the last internal lockdown. Liam said the infected that got through had been trapped in the southern corridor cluster, whatever that meant. We kept the conversation factual, not emotional. No one brought up what might happen if we actually saw his mother or brother again. We had limited gear. Sophia still had the sidearm we pulled from the secure case back in week 1, but only 8 rounds. I kept the crowbar, a pry hook, and one of the heavier hex wrenches I'd sharpened into a tool that doubled as a short stabbing pick. For makeshift protection, I bent wire shelving into a flat panel and zip-tied it to my left arm, like a shield. Sophia mirrored it. It wasn't elegant, but it would deflect teeth or claws in a hallway fight. We tested movement, balance, and rechecked every latch and strap. We left Liam in the central lounge, just past the hydroponics bay. He had a radio, locked doors behind him, and instructions not to come looking for us unless the cameras blacked out. He nodded, silent. I don't think he blinked until we were out of sight. He had done what he could, but there was no way we were bringing a kid into a room where his turned family might be waiting. The access stairs to the lower level were dim but functional. The walls had more dust than the rest of the bunker, and the overhead vents had visible moisture streaks, condensation from years of neglected airflow. The service elevator shaft on our left still held the locked-down car, jammed between 2 floors. We passed by it slowly, keeping close to the wall. The idea of anything climbing up or down that gap made my teeth clench. There was no welcome committee when we reached the lower landing. The main hallway stretched forward with emergency lights humming low and red, barely bright enough to see by. Signs of chaos were immediate. A tipped-over medcart, blood streaked in arcs across the floor, a backpack with the straps torn out, not shredded, ripped deliberately, like someone had tried to use it as a shield and failed. We kept our backs to the walls, moving one step at a time. Sophia checked every junction with the flashlight, then I'd sweep through. We didn't speak. The hallway opened into what had been the logistics lounge. This place had been meant for analysts or emergency staff who couldn't live with the VIPs upstairs. It had 4 dorm rooms, 1 kitchenette, and 2 narrow side corridors. One of them was marked by Liam's handwriting in black marker, "Do not open, failed isolation." We stayed away from that one. The other hall curved gently toward the core medical zone. That's where Unit 2 had been built. Converted rooms with tighter airlocks, filtered vents, multiple observation ports. Liam had said Hale wanted to collect data on viral behavior. I still wasn't sure if I believed that part. Nothing in the upper bunker showed signs of a scientific mission. If anything, the idea felt like a half-baked justification for paranoia. There were infected down here, but not in the open. The first one we saw was wedged between 2 door frames, its upper body split open down the ribs from some old injury. It didn't move when we approached. Only when we tried to slide past did its head twist and the jaw stretch. No vocalizations, just dry, teeth-grinding movement. It had likely been pinned for weeks. I crushed the skull in 2 strikes and we kept going. In the second corridor, 2 more infected came at us. One crawled low, missing part of a leg, using its arms to lunge fast on all 4s. The other dragged a broken IV stand. Sophia handled the fast one, pinning it with her shield, then putting a shot through its temple at close range. I dealt with the other. It was slower, almost blind. It bled black sludge after I broke the spine. We retreated to the lounge and waited 5 minutes in silence before going deeper. The Unit 2 doors were marked with internal labels: P214, P215, Q-Zone. Some still had biometric panels. Others were open, doors stuck or jammed by furniture. Inside, we found more signs of how fast things had fallen apart. Food trays still on shelves, bedding twisted on floors, blood on the ceilings. Some rooms had no remains at all, just journals, abandoned tech, discarded clothes, as if the people inside had been dragged out. We reached the final room marked Q-Zone. The outer door had a viewport. Sophia peeked in, turned pale, and nodded to me without a word. I took a look. Inside were 2 figures, one older, female, missing half her scalp, and with her face turned slightly away from the door. The other smaller, teenage, thin, hunched over a corner cabinet and barely moving. The way they staggered in slow loops, bumping into furniture, made it obvious. They were infected, not fresh, not fast, but not dead either, just locked in here, circling the same few square feet, long after everything else had stopped. We stood outside the door for a long time. Sophia asked softly if I thought Liam knew. I said maybe. Or maybe he hoped they were just gone. I didn't want to guess. We talked through the options. If we left the door sealed, they'd stay there, possibly for months, maybe years. If something failed, a vent, a wall, they could break out into the lower level again. If we opened it, we'd have to kill them. Sophia said we should go back, tell Liam what we saw, and let him decide. We did. We walked all the way back, locked the lower access, and sat him down at the table near the old break room. He didn't speak for almost a minute after we finished, just stared at his hands. Then he asked if they had seen him. I said no. Then he asked if they looked like they were in pain. Sophia said that not sure how it's going. Then he nodded and said, "I do not know, but I want them to stop suffering." That was all. He got up, walked to the hydroponics area, and started checking the lettuce trays. We logged the Q-Zone door in the system. We reinforced the outer corridor with another steel panel. We red-marked the hallway cameras and built a barricade 2 doors back. The sector wasn't gone, but it was contained. For now, that was enough. We returned upstairs late that evening. Sophia made a meal from the small hot plate, and we ate in silence. Liam didn't come back up for a few hours. When he did, he sat with us. Not close, not far, just enough to remind us that he was still here. We waited until the next morning, gave ourselves time to sleep, eat, and think. Nobody rushed it. Sophia and I spent most of that night in the utility hall outside the kitchen, sitting on crates and going over the plan again. We weren't debating it anymore. We were just making sure every angle was covered. Liam sat across the room, near the wall, silent most of the time. He didn't ask us to spare them. He just nodded when I said we were doing it in the morning and asked if he had a preference for how. He shook his head once and said, "Just not the gun." We prepped early. Sophia dragged down one of the metal racks from storage and helped me screw panels across the open end to form a kind of shield. We added a wheeled cart with bricks to brace it. It wasn't elegant, but it let us funnel anything coming out of the room into a narrow gap we could manage. Sophia double-checked the revolver from the bunker's emergency kit, still only 4 rounds loaded. She didn't want to use it either, but it had to be ready. We cleared the air first. I walked down the hallway and cracked the ventilation hatches one by one. Let the stale, cold flow through before we opened that door. Liam stood just at the edge of view, behind a corner, not watching, but not hiding either. He was holding a folded towel and shaking without realizing it. I told him again he didn't need to be there. He said nothing and kept holding the towel. The hallway outside the Unit 2 room was narrow. We positioned the shield across the width, then braced it from behind with crates and more panels. Sophia stayed left of the door, just past the line of fire. I held the crowbar, longer than my forearm, sharpened at the tip. I had 2 nails jammed into my coat sleeve in case I dropped it. No heroics, just pressure, aim, and retreat if it went bad. I turned the release handle. The lock resisted at first. Sophia helped brace it while I pulled. The seal hissed, the magnet disengaged, and I cracked it 2 inches. Inside, I could hear movement, slow, uncoordinated, scraping. One shadow moved toward the door. The second stayed in the corner. I opened it just enough. A shoulder appeared, then the side of a face. Skin pale, jaw slack. It was his mother, I think, still wearing the same sweater as in the family photo on the wall upstairs. I stepped forward and swung once. She dropped fast, not violently, just folded. The second one, the boy, moved next. This one was faster. I had to jab the crowbar into the panel to slow him. Sophia raised the revolver but held off. I got behind the thing and drove it down, hard. It took longer. When it stopped moving, I leaned on the wall and didn't say anything. We left the door open. No reason to seal it again. The room smelled like dust, rot, and leftover metal from the air system. No one had cleaned it since the lockdown. There were books, clothes, even a still unmade cot. I didn't go in. Sophia said we should torch it eventually, once we had a way to control the airflow. For now, it stayed empty and quiet. Liam didn't come close, but he looked. He didn't cry at first. Not right then. He walked into the room after we left and stayed there a few minutes alone. When he came out, he walked past us without stopping and went back upstairs. Half an hour later, we heard him in the shower. After that, he sat down at the kitchen table, dripping wet, and asked if we wanted to play cards. We didn't say no. That night, the 3 of us stayed in the common room. I made soup from rehydrated beans and dried vegetables, and Sophia found one of the old lanterns with a tinted cover. We didn't talk about what happened. Nobody brought it up. But something was different in the way Liam looked at the place. Not defensive anymore. Not possessive. Just aware that it was no longer a tomb. It was just a bunker again. We spent the next few days sweeping the remaining rooms in the lower sector. Found more blood, more signs of panic, but no more infected. One room had graffiti on the wall written in red pen. Navarro took the case. We are not coming back. Another had a set of sleeping bags stacked in the corner, long abandoned. We kept notes, recorded everything. What struck me was how little had broken. The air system was still running, though at minimum cycle. The lights worked in most rooms. Even the freezer section, half full of frozen protein packs, still had power. Someone had done good prep. Someone cared enough to design a place that could last. It just couldn't survive secrets. Sophia found a locked terminal in the operations room, but it needed a password. Liam thought it was Navarro's. We didn't push too hard. Too many other things to fix first. We started inventorying everything from scratch. That helped. Made the place feel manageable again. By the end of that week, Liam had taken over water monitoring and hydroponics. Sophia rewired a few power relays to clean up the energy drain from unused areas. I cleaned vents. It was quiet work. The kind that made the bunker hum without noise. That quiet started to feel earned. Whatever Liam had been before, Martin Hale's kid, a liability, a question mark, he wasn't that anymore. He was another survivor with a job, a place, and a role. I think that helped him more than anything we could have said. The last thing we did that week was patch the elevator seal and mark the door in red tape. Sophia joked it was our version of Do Not Disturb. I said it was more like a headstone. We laughed, but neither of us smiled when we said it. We spent the first half of that morning restocking the tool lockers and running a basic systems check. The lower sector had taken up so much of our focus that we'd let little things slide. Panel alignment, water pressure offsets, one of the grease filters for the hydro station. Normal work finally. But even in that calm, something sat heavy between the three of us. Liam moved slower than usual. Sophia checked the upstairs security feeds 3 times instead of once. I kept thinking about the other ways someone could get in. That bunker had been designed for power and appearances. People like Hale didn't believe in having only one door. It was just after breakfast that Liam finally sat down at the main console, tapped his fingers for a bit, and then said he needed to show us something. He didn't look up while he talked, just kept his eyes on the screen. Said there was another entrance. Bigger, lower on the slope, hidden behind a structure that looked like a standard utility shack if you didn't know better. Sophia and I exchanged a look, and I asked if it still worked. He nodded. Said it probably did, assuming nobody had tampered with the pressure latch or the stabilizer system. But it was mechanical override, not electronic, meaning if someone got curious enough or had the right knowledge, it wasn't exactly impossible to open. He explained more slowly after that. The large blast door had been used for years before the outbreak. Vehicle drops, fuel shipments, and discreet arrivals for whatever Hale didn't want, associated with the main entrance up top. The road leading there was mostly overgrown now, he said, but the path still existed, cut into the mountain during construction. Navarro and the guard had used that route to leave. He was sure of it. The case was too heavy for the air shaft or emergency ladders, and he remembered hearing the whine of the hydraulic clamps disengaging the morning they vanished. That changed things. We had always assumed the main point of failure was the small hatch I had first come through during the storm. It was narrow, concealed by brush, and easy to reinforce. But this second entrance, was a vulnerability we couldn't ignore. A 12-foot-high armored door, shielded but accessible, with a direct line to the lower engineering corridor. Once opened, even part way, it would turn the entire eastern hallway into a funnel, a liability. Sophia said it first. If we found it, someone else can. We planned the trip that afternoon. Sophia and I would gear up for the surface. Liam stayed below. Not because he refused, but because he admitted he didn't want to see that part of the mountain again. Said his father used to park his ridiculous armored SUV there and make everyone walk behind it like bodyguards. The memory was enough to sour him on the place. I think that made it easier. No sentiment to slow us down. We took the slope trail around mid-morning the next day. Thin snow had dusted the path overnight, and a light rain followed us all the way down the ridge. Sophia carried the revolver. I had a crowbar and the welding torch strapped to my back. We weren't expecting trouble, but we never left the bunker empty-handed anymore. The trail got worse the lower we went. Gravel runoffs, frost-heaved edges, thorn bushes that hadn't been cleared in years. But then we saw it. The building looked like every other maintenance shack we'd seen in our sweeps. Rusted siding, half-collapsed awning, and a long-forgotten logo on the wall. Logan and Rourke Transport Systems. You'd miss it if you didn't know to look twice. Behind it, barely visible from the slope, was the top edge of a reinforced track leading to a recessed platform. And there, built directly into the stone, was the blast door. It wasn't damaged. That was the first relief. No scratch marks, no pried edges. The access panel was intact, but deactivated. Liam had said it would be. Manual release only once the digital failed. Sophia walked the perimeter, checked the surrounding ground. No footprints, no drag lines, no tire indentations. She crouched by a low drain pipe and ran her glove through the grit. Dry, undisturbed, and cold. Whoever had left last, Navarro or someone else, they hadn't returned. I tested the side crank, careful not to turn it. The lever moved but resisted. Safety tension was still active. That confirmed Liam's story. Someone had exited the right way, sealed it behind them with knowledge and purpose. Not a panic, not a breach. That door had been properly closed, but it didn't mean it would stay that way if someone else got curious. We marked the ground with red chalk, placed a reflective stake along the slope path, and took our photos. Then we returned the same way we came. Quiet, steady pace, heads on a swivel. I didn't feel watched, but I didn't feel alone either. That door had history now. Navarro had walked through it. The case from the safe had passed through there. The last of Hale's people had vanished down that slope. Whatever waited beyond it wasn't ours to chase. Not yet. Back in the bunker, we told Liam what we found. He listened without interrupting. Said he was glad it was sealed. Said he hoped it stayed that way. But I could see in his face that something hurt. That door had been his father's entrance, the official one. All the pride of that status symbol had become a threat to us now. It was a shift he understood but didn't enjoy. The next morning, I went down with the welding gear. Sophia helped haul 2 rusted slabs from the machine room and a cabinet door we didn't need. We layered them across the inside of the blast door. Nothing pretty, just weight and metal to stop it from swinging inward without a fight. I disabled the crank system from the interior side, cutting the linkage pin and driving a wedge into the joint. Someone might still get in from outside someday, but if they did, it wouldn't be clean. We labeled the corridor with hazard markers and spray painted a simple phrase on the inside panel: dead access. Sophia drew a red line through the entrance on our new bunker map and sealed the folder in the main terminal. That part of the mountain was out of play. Liam came to see it once. Just once. He stood behind us while we finished welding and didn't say a word. When we turned to leave, he stayed still for another full minute, then ran his fingers across the rust line and walked away. I never saw him linger by that corridor again. After we finished welding the last plate across the blast door and marked the route as dead access, I suggested one more thing. A kind of psychological barrier, maybe. I said we should paint something obvious on the outside of the fake service shed. Something to scare off curiosity. Sophia raised an eyebrow, unsure what I meant. I told her straight, let's write dead inside. Big, bold. Let it do some of the talking if someone ever gets close. Liam didn't say anything. Sophia tilted her head, then finally sighed and handed me 2 half-empty spray paint cans. I'm not hiking halfway up the mountain for that, she said. You want it painted, go do it yourself. So I did. I walked the slope alone the next morning. No infected, no prints in the snow. I reached the door, wiped off the panel, and stood there for a while before spraying the first letter. The paint ran a little in the cold, but it held. Dead inside. Letters, tall and clear across the rusting metal. When I stepped back to look at it, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not pride, not relief, just steadiness. A job done. A message sent to no one in particular. I turned and walked back down to the hatch. Sophia never asked how it went. I never brought it up again. The rest of the week passed without incident. Weather stayed mild. No radio signals. No new infected on the perimeter. For the first time since we sealed the lower sector, it felt like we had no crisis waiting in the wings. The bunker's noise returned to normal. Fans, taps, clunks, the kind of background rhythm you only notice when something goes missing. We had not done a full perimeter sweep in almost 2 weeks. With the lower sector locked and the main door sealed shut, we got lazy. Not in a stupid way, just the natural slack that comes when nothing happens for too many days in a row. That morning, I pulled out the old checklist, one of the laminated ones from Hale's operations desk, and decided we needed to walk the slope, scan the southern ridge, and check the old trail markers around the drainage ravine. Sophia agreed. Liam grumbled, but came anyway. It was cloudy but dry, no wind, the kind of morning where even distant birds don't bother making noise. We climbed out through the hatch after running the airlock cycle and stepped into thick pine shade. Everything looked exactly how we left it. Rocks, moss, the collapsed fence gate, but it felt different. I could not explain why. Just something quieter than usual. The first 2 miles were uneventful. No broken branches, no prints, no torn brush. If the infected passed this way, they did not leave signs. We split up briefly near the western drop to cover more ground. That was when I spotted the first body. It was tangled in brush, half hidden by dry weeds and slope wash. Male, middle-aged, worn boots, threadbare jeans. No ID or gear. His face was slack, jaw broken, neck twisted at an angle that meant he had been thrown or fallen hard. Sophia joined me a few seconds later, eyes scanning for movement. We both crouched beside him. His arms were bare, fresh bites on one. No blood trail coming in. He probably staggered up here weeks ago, collapsed and rotted in place. We found 2 more bodies near the base of the transmission tower, both female. Both far enough gone to stink but not yet skeletonized. No weapons, no backpacks. That was the pattern. Wanderers without purpose. No tools, no hope. Just drawn uphill by movement or sound until their legs gave out. Liam caught up with us and said he saw a figure moving across the ridge trail behind the fire break. We followed, careful and spaced out, sweeping in arcs. He was not wrong. Something moved up there. We heard it before we saw it, crunching on old pine cones and twigs. No urgency. Just that awkward undead rhythm. It crested the ridge slowly. Female, tall, long coat shredded across the back. One leg twisted with an audible grind when she stepped forward. No moaning, no howl. Just movement toward us when her head turned our way. Sophia lifted the handgun, but I stopped her. I wanted to try the pry bar first, just to conserve rounds. I approached, slow and angled. The infected woman flinched slightly at a branch but kept walking. I stepped in close and aimed for the temple with the flat end of the bar. First hit rocked her but did not finish the job. Second hit sent her sideways. I pressed the handle down until the neck gave. Quiet, efficient, controlled. We had learned what mattered in close quarters. Avoid blood spray, avoid noise, avoid slipping on loose dirt. 2 more came up behind her. A teenage boy in soaked winter gear, and a rail-thin man missing most of his scalp. These ones moved faster, maybe fresh. We had to space out and fight back to back. Sophia knocked the teen off balance with a stick jab, then used the crowbar to finish him. I grappled the thin man down and drove my boot into his chest until I could crack the skull with the claw end. Liam stood behind a log and watched. Frozen, fists clenched, but held his ground. After we cleared the area, we stood at the ridge edge and looked out toward the far valleys. Empty. Nothing moved. No smoke, no signs of camps, no fresh sound. Just range after range of dead forest and abandoned logging paths. Sophia said it aloud. If anyone else is alive out here, they're hiding better than we are. That night we went over the perimeter map again, added new notations, tagged dead zones, marked new cairns along the far edge for future reference. Liam traced one path with his finger, then circled a shallow basin and said he used to think there was a ranger outpost there. Maybe there was. Maybe someone holed up and did not last the winter. I could feel it settle in my chest as I reviewed the patrol notes. This realization that the mountain was ours, not because we won it, but because no one else wanted it badly enough to survive. We were not in a fortress. We were in the last unclaimed spot nobody else had the strength to reach. I added the words, "Known dead," next to one ridge trail on the map and capped my marker. Sophia put the kettle on. Liam went to fix a loose seal on the eastern door sensor. No speeches, no grand moment, just the quiet knowledge that we were probably the only ones still walking upright within 30 miles. By the start of the second week, the feeling of constant reaction gave way to something else. Maintenance, routine, and a sense that we were finally shaping the place instead of just surviving inside it. There were no new breaches, no late-night banging through ductwork, no unseen eyes behind vents. The chaos that defined our early days here had lost its grip. There was still tension, sure, still the same awareness that any day could go bad in a dozen ways. But we weren't holding our breath anymore. The mysteries that once kept us guessing now had grounded answers. The noise in the vents was never supernatural. It was Liam, scared, isolated, and crawling through the infrastructure his father built. The safe that once seemed vital hadn't held weapons or schematics, just data drives. Records Navarro clearly thought were worth preserving, though we still didn't know what was on them. He'd taken them and left through a route we'd now buried in steel and concrete. If he was alive, he wasn't coming back. If he wasn't, then the files died with him. Either way, it was done. The lower sector didn't hold horrors designed in labs or monsters chained to walls. Just people, Liam's family and staff, who had been too late to evacuate and too early to be rescued. Their quarantine failed, and so did their options. The blood in the elevator was from a final sprint toward a blocked exit. That was the truth. No twist, no deeper plot. Just the way things ended for most places when time ran out. And Martin Hale? He remained an absence. No secret base, no hidden vault, no posthumous broadcast explaining everything. Just a man who vanished early in the chaos. Liam stopped asking about him. Sophia stopped suggesting we look for clues. I stopped wondering whether the old man might reappear with an answer that made sense of all this. We had what we had. With the ghosts named and laid out plainly, we started rewriting how this place functioned. We called it New Rules for a Small World. It started simple. Everyone contributes. No passive observers. Liam took it better than expected. He asked for a list. Sophia gave him one. Short jobs that could build into larger responsibilities. Clean air filters, track battery levels, sanitize tools. He took to it quickly, asking questions but not pushing back. We gave him the small storage room across from the hydroponics corridor. It had no windows, but it had walls, a proper cot, and a door. He stopped sleeping in vents after that. The second rule came from Sophia. No more unilateral decisions. If someone wanted to open a hatch, access a locked system or reroute power, it got brought up first. The days of secrets were over. Liam didn't argue. He just nodded and said that made sense. We started posting little whiteboard notes near the console. New cable planned for waterline, or check intake valve Thursday. Small changes, but they made the place feel more like ours. I handled the third rule, rotation. Everyone learned the basics of everyone else's work. I showed Sophia how to check fuses and run system resets. She showed me how to monitor the perimeter cameras and resync the recording schedule. Liam sat in on both, scribbling notes in a small paper booklet we gave him. That stability gave space for normal human moments. Sophia found an old external drive with several downloaded shows, probably from before things went bad. We picked a series at random, some post-apocalyptic satire from the early 2000s, and took turns choosing episodes. Liam acted disinterested the first few nights but started watching from the kitchen counter, then finally joined us on the couch without comment. By the end of the second season, he was the one who reminded us which episode came next. We kept playing the dumb little games we'd started back when every night felt like a coin flip. One of us picked a number. Closest guess chose dinner or the movie. Sometimes we bet push-ups. Once we bet bathroom cleaning duty and regretted it immediately. It felt real though, like people, not characters in a survival scenario. Jokes got sharper. Teasing became comfortable. I caught Sophia mocking the way I always double-checked the lock on the comms closet even though it hadn't been used in weeks. I started mimicking her dramatic radio voice when she ran perimeter checks. Liam joined in too. Light stuff at first, then more direct. Called me out for overloading the solar relays because I was feeling lucky. I called him out for organizing tools alphabetically instead of by function. It was safe humor, the kind you only make when you're not worried about the next 10 minutes killing you. Sophia and I didn't become anything new. We just became more solid. We still slept in different rooms, still gave each other space. But we also stopped locking doors at night. We started splitting meal prep without needing to ask. If one of us stood watch, the other one always made tea or something warm when it was over. Trust that had been earned, not assumed. There were no talks about feelings or futures. Not because it was cold, because neither of us needed it to function. Liam stayed watchful for a while, like he expected us to turn on him or exile him for mistakes he hadn't made yet. But he relaxed eventually. He started suggesting improvements to air circulation, said the vent paths needed better airflow direction, and he was right. He helped Sophia organize the growing log, helped me clean the generator housing when it clogged with sediment, asked questions that made sense. Not the kind of curiosity that comes from fear, just the kind that comes from wanting to get it right. By the third week, the bunker had changed shape. The lower level was marked off, monitored, and untouched. One camera watched the main hall there. We muted the sound but checked the visuals daily. No movement. The elevator stayed offline. The red tape on the door never shifted. It was quiet, and it stayed that way. The blast door was sealed, welded, buried, a threat neutralized, the route marked in red on our maps, with a note that read, "Dead access. Permanent." We never spoke of it again, except during brief reviews of security layers. It didn't belong to the present anymore. The hatch, the one I'd first climbed through, remained our only real exposure to the outside. We checked it daily, camouflaged it better, reinforced the internal bolts. Every week, we added a new redundancy to keep it under control. It was manageable, not safe in the broad sense, but close enough for us. We still had no idea what was happening beyond the tree line. No broadcasts, no drone noise, no search parties. The world might have ended completely or shifted into something unrecognizable. But here, in the bunker, we had enough data to move forward, enough facts, enough control. Sometimes, when the power grid hummed just right and the storm cover rolled in quiet over the mountain, I'd sit in the comms chair and imagine someone else out there, another group who'd survived and built their own system. I'd picture us linking up someday, not as a fantasy, just as a possibility, a next chapter, if we lasted long enough to reach it. But that was for later. For now, this was where it ended. 3 people in a mountain bunker, a sealed lower level, a buried entrance, a narrow hatch under careful control, 1 hydroponic station feeding us, 1 water pump still holding pressure, a few solar panels breathing life into dead circuits, 1 old couch, a cracked projector, and a series none of us had ever finished before. It was not a story about hope, or rebuilding the world, or fighting off monsters with flair. It was not a story about chosen ones or final survivors. It was a story about the quiet, the routine, the decision to face hard things without breaking, about learning to live in a place not because it was perfect, but because it was all that was left, and it was enough. Sophia said it best one night while staring at the terminal logs. We're not safe, but we're steady, and that might be better. That became the motto, scratched into the inside panel of the maintenance hatch, etched in faded marker and sealed with clear tape. Steady as enough. And that's where we'll stop for now. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me how the story hit you, what moments worked, what didn't, and what you'd want to hear next. And a big thank you to everyone supporting the channel, especially with extra membership. Carlos Herrera, The Great Anywho, Jadala, Madam Midnight, Deborah Powell, William Blackwell. You keep this project alive. Until next time, Survivor. Jack's Nightmares signing off.